It's
It depends on what browser you're using.
No, it depends how you spell it.
All right, we ready for this?
Yeah.
Well, some notes on the diaphragm pump. By the way, everything that guy said, I typed out. I did. It's in your Canvas.
Oh,
So
okay.
the entire transcript of that whole thing is in Canvas.
Ooh.
I think even add some little pictures. I'm not sure.
Dude didn't move his hands one time.
So-
He was like,
All right, diaphragm fuel pumps.
you still move your hands.
Extremely common in general aviation, GA. That's what Lycoming uses. So if you got a Lycoming engine, you're probably going to have that pump. If you have a Continental engine, you're probably not. B, they are classified as a what type of pump?
Variable
What?
displacement.
Yes.
No, not a what.
Sorry, I
Variable.
misunderstood the question.
Displacement pump. C, engine driven, but considered, there you go, spring operated. The engine only resets the spring.
He said Cox. The spring.
I'm not going to.
You spell it with a K and then it doesn't.
I chose my words as I chose my words. I said what I said. Components. Uses how many check valves?
3, 2.
2 check valves. Use 2 check valves. One allowing fuel in and one allowing fuel out. Fuel out. Let's see. What else we got in there?
Diaphragm.
Diaphragms. How many?
2.
Right, 3.
Oh shit.
What? We have a main diaphragm.
Correct.
I'm glad you agree.
After you say it, I know it. So I can agree.
Right there, 3 diaphragms.
Ah,
The main, the upper, and the
Lower.
pulsator.
you just setting us up. That's what's going on here. You just
Pulsator.
Like being right, like being wrong. Just a little bit.
Main diaphragm, upper diaphragm. And the lower pulsator.
Oh my god.
So you say either or, right?
I've heard it both ways.
Okay.
All right, got the 3 there. Without getting too worried here. So the main diaphragm does the work. Upper diaphragm is
Safety.
safety. Pulsator diaphragm smooths. Okay. I like that. I should have you write my notes. I'd be in and out really quick. Main diaphragm.
You see my handwriting. You don't want me right here.
We could type it. Just to the point. Does work. Safety. Smooth. Okay. What else we got? Heavy spring. Well, it doesn't weigh a lot. Just a heavy spring. Heavy spring does what? Drives the pump. Drives the pump and the arm. Driven on a cam and push rod or plunger. to operation. One. As cam and plunger, press arm down. Cam, oops. And plunger, press arm down. Spring is compressed.
Hey,
Spring is compressed. And diaphragm is lifted up. Which diaphragm's lifted up? Kind of all of them, really. Because when it comes up, it's going to bring the upper one with it because they're attached on the rod. And that's going to suck fuel, which is kind of make that pulsator diaphragm also kind of come up a little bit from the low pressure. All right, this draws fuel in through the check valve. From the check valve, if there is demand, spring presses down. Well, spring's going to press down no matter what. So I should say spring presses down, and then if there is demand.
Like demand for fuel?
Yep. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will change that. That sounded even better. Watch, I'll get halfway through and go, oh, I know I wrote it that way. So no matter what, spring presses down.
Just ask Tom.
And if there is a demand for fuel, let's see, what was I saying? If there's demand, fuel, comma, fuel is pressed out. There we go. If no fuel demand, spring remains compressed. Spring remains compressed. Diaphragm remains up. Remains up, and no fuel is pumped out. So we got the upper diaphragm. Has two jobs. So one, keeps any fuel that leaks from main diaphragm. Keeps any fuel that leaks from the main diaphragm from leaking into what? Leaking into crankcase. What happens if the fuel gets in the crankcase?
Oil.
Dilutes the oil. Oil pressure is going to go down.
Temperature goes
Oil
up.
pressure, temperature goes up. If there is an ignition source inside the engine, you have a dynamic disassembly, and then as he says, a post-flight crash. I think that's what he said. It was a post.
I say pre-landing crash.
Oh, let's see here. Also, acts as a backup in case the main diaphragm fails. Then we have the pulsator. And what does that do?
We'll say it's
Smooth.
It smooths out or evens out fuel pressure pulsations. To prevent excessive wear on servo. I've never mentioned it to another class before, but when you take this apart, you will take this apart, you're going to find some extra passageways in there.
yes.
You will find no information on what they're there for.
Oh,
You will just present to me your best guess
Oh, that's cool.
Is that acceptable?
as evidence that you understand how the pump works.
oh boy.
I do not know the actual reason why they're there.
Safety wire?
Please do not call tech support on this stuff. I had a class one time, like, what the hell you guys? Oh, we're just calling tech support to get the answers. These people actually have a living, trying to make a living. They have products to sell. Don't do that. It's
Well, you
annoying.
tell them, do you want me to buy your products in the future?
Yeah.
You know, you'll see your customer service.
They're like, what's your name?
Hey, man,
And a drain fitting. What's a drain fitting do?
I'm guessing drains from the fitting.
Used to what?
Drain water.
Drain water from,
Nope.
no?
Fuel. That's leaking.
Drain fuel from. Definitely not drain there.
The blue streak.
The blue streak. Used to indicate a leaking diaphragm. So all pumps that I can think of have a drain fitting to indicate that there's a failed seal in them. If you get any fuel out of those drain holes, it's time to replace the pump or the seal or something. Depends on what pump it is. Let me see. Want to do this? Yeah, we'll do it. For some basics. Oops. Let me do this. Diaphragm pump. Pump basics. Let's see. What did we learn from that? On the diaphragm, pressure and flow are what? Inverse. Means when the flow goes down, the pressure is allowed to build up. And as you increase the flow, open the orifice, the pressure is going to go
Damn.
down. So, let's see. Oh, a large orifice. Where's this orifice going to be located?
Yeah.
In your fuel control unit. So a large orifice will allow a lot of fuel to flow, and pressure will be low. We have a small orifice. Fuel flow will be, what's the word I use? Restricted. And pressure will increase. Max pressure is at
No.
zero flow. Pump does not determine how much fuel flows to the engine. What does? Servo.
Servo.
Servo does. Pump just provides pressure to the servo to do its job. Pump must meet or exceed servo demand, or there's a loss of proper fuel flow. I guess I could write that. I went through the trouble putting it there. Pump must meet or exceed the servo demand must meet or exceed servo demand, or there is a loss of proper fuel flow. If you have lost proper fuel flow of the engine, what's that mean it's going to probably do?
Down.
Rich or lean?
Lean.
Lean. Or die. Always. Plumb. Drain overboard. How often do we check the drain plug?
Every
Every
flight.
100 hours.
Every pre-flight. It's not a plug you pull out. Little robots. It just plumbs overboard. Fuel's coming out of the drain. What does that mean? It's always open, by the way. There's no plug.
Yeah.
So if you have an aircraft with this particular type of pump, and you happen to see fuel coming out of this right here, what should you do?
Replace.
Put a plug there, right?
No. It's a
Here's,
leak.
I would have recommended.
No, because it's plumbed overboard. Well, I see it, you know. I checked for it annuals. It was leaking. You'll know there's a plug in there. Like, it was leaking and somebody plugged it. So that'll work for a while. Let's see. Oh, got some extra points here. So let's see. There are high and low pressure pumps. When you're selecting a pump, you just go by the part number. I mean, you don't get to choose. It's find the part number, go for it. So a lot of this information is not out there. You're not supposed to overhaul these in the field. There's no overhaul manual. There's not a lot of information. It's just pretty much what I'm giving you here. The high pressure pumps have a reinforcing ring that comes down here. So it's a steel ring on the outside of this, like a washer. I don't think I have a picture of that.
Oh, is that to prevent it from like the diaphragm from tearing or something?
No, it's on the outside. Some of ours have it. You'll see it. No, I don't have a picture. So high and low pressure pumps. High pressure. Has a steel reinforcing ring. Okay, I said we talked about the other pumps. All pumps, A, B, C, D, E, F, all pumps must have a bypass. Why do you need a bypass? This is the main pump here. So I said you have two reasons.
Has to be over, fuel demand has to be, or the pump has to meet or exceed the fuel demand of the engine.
Yes, but why do we want to bypass through the pumps? The main engine-driven pump. Okay, if the engine-driven pumps failed, you got to find a way through it. So what happens if that plunger broke off, the spring broke? That's most likely spring broke. Well, if the spring breaks, is the pump going to work?
No.
No. And you've got a fuel control unit that needs pressure. So what's the engine going to do at that point? It's going to die. So you got to turn on the boost pump. Well, how's boost pump going to get through a broken pump? So where was there you go. So I said, where's the bypass? It's built into it. Goes in one bypass and out the other. If you put pressure on it, it just pops one open, pushes the other one down, it free flows right through it. It's like it's not even there. So bypass, let me see. Just built in with check valves. It's just part of the design. It'll work. Let's see. And air leaks are a problem. So air leaks, L-E-A-K-S, And GH. I'm going to put this special. All right, you know how I get all worked up when you put a wrong thread in the wrong hole? Like a pipe in a hose, or hose in a pipe, or straight into a pipe. But I don't blame you guys. You probably told them to do it.
Luckily, I haven't done that yet.
There's no hole there. Just stick it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a funny spot.
Sorry, if you're not in on the joke, Philip was blamed for something he had no part of today. so I'm giving him a bad time. Why'd you do that? SP
Special.
special. I was supposed to say special, but whatever. Okay. So on these pumps, let's see. I don't have a picture. There was one in the vidya.
You said air leaks are common.
You got to watch out for air leaks.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can capture it.
Sucked into the pump's chamber, fills the pumping chamber. Displaces
See,
the
bypass,
gas
just push
and
up
stops
one
the
and down the other.
Some air
Hurry up.
leaks may cause fuel starvation soon after the boost pump is turned on, whether on the ground or in the air.
Did we go past
Smaller
it?
air leaks can cause a
There it
loss,
is.
or an air leak in a fitting is all it takes to stop it.
Just edit all this out. Here. There, all right. The fittings on this are different than what you'd ever expect. They are not pipe fittings. They're actually straight fittings with an O-ring. So this is actually called a bulkhead fitting, right? And so here's the end right here that screws into the pump. And you put an O-ring in that little space right there. This tightens down against the O-ring, which then seals it. So it's not a pipe fitting. You can try and fit a pipe fitting in there. I think it'll stay for a little while. It'll blow itself out. When you start the engine, fuel's going to be everywhere. So the reason why they made it like this is because, see how you have a 90-degree fitting? Well, the worst part about 90-degree fittings that have a hose, or a pipe fitting right here, is you have to tighten it to a certain torque, and then I need it to go that way, but it's facing this way. So what are your choices? Over tighten it and crack the fitting, or under tighten it and have a leak.
Yep.
Those are your two. Well, I guess third one is you got to go find a new fitting, and hopefully that one tightens up, or a fourth, or a fifth. Okay, with these fittings, it makes it real easy. You clock this piece right here wherever you want it to point, and exactly where you want to point, and then just tighten this nut. And you got to screw this in far enough so that you have just a little space there for that nut. Turn that where you want it. Tighten the jam nut. Tightens up against the washer. Tightens up against the O-ring. You're good to go. Yeah.
That's because pipe fittings are tapered, right?
Yes. So if you over tighten the pipe fitting, you get the. I should have just did the whole damn. Oh, I moved. But yeah, because if I would have cut and paste the whole thing, you had a cracked fitting there. So, all right, don't want any cracked fittings. All right, we good with these pumps? Say yes.
Yes.
All right, glad to hear it. All right,
Do you understand this
Wait,
now?
can you go back to the notes?
can I go back to the notes?
Yeah. Okay. Talk about pressure carburetors. Pressure carburetors are somewhat similar
No, they're not. They're completely different than a float carburetor. Right, they do the same job,
No flow.
but they don't have, they have a float.
Yeah.
Different purpose.
Yeah.
So, they're not prone to carburetor ice. They don't care about position. They work upside down. Atomize fuel better, and I guess I'll give you better fuel economy. The weird thing is they don't really use them anymore. So some people say, why would you ever want to teach something that's antiquated? Well, all I have to do is walk across the street, and we have one in our Bonanza. So they're still out there, and if you can understand this, it makes transitioning into fuel injection very simple. You're like, oh, okay, it's like almost the same. So anyway, that's what it looks like. So we just have to figure out how that works.
It's Tracy.
Oops. Did not mean to do that. That's the PR58. We have one in the classroom.
Yeah.
It's about that big.
Fucking
It
big.
weighs it weighs around 100 pounds. You're welcome to take it down and look at it. It's gigantic.
You brought it out.
Huh?
I think you brought it out like the first day of class.
Okay. But the one on the Bonanza obviously isn't that big. It's this big, right? So they make all different size. But the PR58's that gigantic one. There you go. Oh, that's ours. So I took this picture. There's your MA3 SPA, MA3 PA, right next to it. So
That sips at 22 gallons an hour.
yeah, at idle. Would have been on this one. The I can't see that R2800, which would have been used in the, and that's what we have in the classroom, right? R2800, I think, used on the DC6, Constellation, F4U Corsair, and the F4F Wildcat, if you want to know.
Dang.
Not on the test. All right, so that's it. That's a simplified version.
There we go, baby. That's better.
Huh?
Test tomorrow.
Test tomorrow?
You should have shown us that.
Stop talking. Shut up.
All right, this isn't a real difficult thing. It's just different. And the thing you have to understand is we have chambers A, B, C, and D. That's the heart of it. That's the whole, it's just the computer, basically. It's an analog computer, if you will. I don't call it that. You don't want it. But it's the brains of the operation. And the whole point of this A, B, C, and D is to use pressures, air pressures and fuel pressures, to get this poppet to not move. It can open and stop or close and stop, but you can't have it moving all the way to one side, all the way to the other. Right? Otherwise, it's what they call binary. Binary meaning it's on or off.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be an on or off thing. If I need more, if it's in a configuration right now, and I add more throttle, that means I add more air, means I need,
More fuel.
okay, so I open the throttle a little bit, I got a little bit more
Air.
air, I need a
Little
little bit more fuel, which means this has to open a little bit. So it goes out of balance, opens it up a little bit, but then has to balance out and stop. If it didn't, and it stayed out of balance, it would just drive all the way over here. One of these chambers had, we'll say C right here, because it's attached right here. So if C suddenly had more pressure and nothing counterbalanced it, it would just go all the way till it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I close the throttle and I lost pressure, we'll say in C, this isn't right, just I'm using it because I can reach it, then it would just go all the way close and stop. You can't do that. Follow?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go into an equilibrium and then stop. It's got to move a little bit and stop, a little bit and stop, or a little bit and stop. Can't just go to the end or to the end. Okay, and that's what we're going to look for. And that's your job, is to kind of figure out, okay, what makes it go into equilibrium and stop where it is. That's the important part of it. If you can see that, then you're like, everything else. If you can see that within this right here, go, okay, I understand. It makes it go a little bit and stop. That's equilibrium. Then all the rest of this, it is so simple. It's so, I mean, we could cover it in the next 5 minutes and take the test. That's how easy everything else is on this. So it's just that little computer part right on there. So without writing a bunch of notes, we'll see if I can just remember how it works. All right. So things that we already know. Let's see, we could use blue. So right here, I like doing them on the board, but it doesn't work well if you're watching a video. Right here, if we take a look at this thing, what is this right here?
Venturi.
Well, right here's the Venturi, but the whole thing right here.
Throttle.
We'll call that the throttle body.
Yeah, you're in.
It's the body that holds the throttle, because here's the throttle. So that's a throttle body. That's where the air is going to come up and go into the engine. But what's this funky looking thing right here?
Turbo impeller?
Supercharger.
Ah.
So this particular engine would be forced induction. So there's a, it's backwards. I never realized that. When you go in the middle and out. So, all right. All right. So it works. All right. So air pressure is going to come up through here, go past the Venturi. Wait a minute. What's missing in the Venturi that you're used to?
Discharge.
There's no discharge nozzle. Where'd it go?
It's all the way down.
Oh, way down over here. Well, that's kind of weird. So what's sucking the fuel out? Well, it's not sucked out. It's pushed out. Okay. So right there, Venturi. No discharge nozzle. It's just an air sensor. Just part of the computer process. And, I'm sorry.
Comes in that way.
Air comes in this way,
Okay, I was
goes
supposed
down
to-
that way. It's not backwards. I'm backwards today. Okay. Air comes in through here. Goes. I'm thinking. As
like,
I'm doing
that
this, going.
throttle's right there.
Well, that's going to get throttle ice. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so air comes this way, goes that way. We're just gonna. We'll edit that part out.
Goes through the
I
throttle.
was hoping you guys were paying
Venturi.
attention. You weren't. It was a test. You failed. Yeah.
A little off topic on the Marvels, the top part with the arms, that's your throttle body, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't off topic. We're talking about throttle body. Okay. So this makes this a updraft or downdraft.
Downdraft?
Yeah, in this case it would. So we gotta, calibrate the brain here. All right, air comes through here, hits an impact tube, goes across the Venturi, comes across the throttle valve, discharge valve into the impeller. That's actually going the right way. That's why I never noticed it being backwards before, because it's not. Discharge is right out here. That means we don't have throttle ice because we're not. We don't have the fuel discharge here. And the cold fuel across the throttle valve. That. Okay.
That's close.
Yeah, I should have quit while I was ahead. All right. So let's start right here. Impact tube.
Ambient air.
We're going to see impact tubes on some other things. There's like several of them. And what they do is they actually it picks up the air coming in. So that's going to be kind of a pressure coming in here. So this is going to be pressure. And these are diaphragms right here. B and D. Well, diaphragms between A and B is a diaphragm, between C and D is a diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm is a flexible piece of rubber. It's attached to the shaft. That's a poppet shaft and a poppet valve down here. Okay, so you move that shaft, those little rubbers have to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you, what the diaphragm?
Who? What? What?
I
Why'd you wake her up? What's what?
The diaphragms, can you? repeat
Diaphragms,
that?
right here.
Oh.
They are attached to this poppet shaft, this poppet valve. Poppet shaft. Okay, so they're attached. They're right here, right here.
Okay.
So if it goes. They flex with the shaft.
You gotta act it out.
I could do this in all interpretive dance if you like. It all evolves into the sprinkler thing.
That's the discharge nozzle.
Hey, see, I told you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
You don't want to see what happens when I get to the Venturi suction. What?
Inside the Venturi.
What?
Like the B section gets its pressure from inside.
Can you just wait a minute? Slow down. Okay, pressure is going to come into this impact tube into A, and because it's pressure, it's going to tend to push the poppet valve to the right. Make sure I had it right.
Yep.
So left, like this way. So it's to my right, it's to your right. So pressure comes in and pushes that way. All right. Then we've got the Venturi. Will yellow work? A little bit. Venturi is what? Pressure or suction?
Low.
With low pressure.
Low pressure.
I can't really use yellow. You can't see that, can you?
You should use this there.
Okay, so this is suction, low pressure. So what is that going to want to do to the diaphragm? Right to the left?
To the right.
To the right. Pull it. All right. So the more air that comes through the throttle body, the more pressure we get, and the more suction we get. Which means the more,
Right.
we can call it air metering force, AMC, air metering force. This is why I hate that fuel metering force is air in the regular carburetors, because now we have air metering force is air and fuel metering force is fuel, and I'm like, that's where it ought to be. So the more air metering force, AMC, we get, the more it's going to
Push it to the open.
open the poppet valve. I want to talk about this automatic mixture control right now. So that is a bellows on a shaft. And as I go up in altitude, what is it's potato chip technology, what's going to happen?
Expands.
It is going to expand. All right, as it expands, it is going to do what to that passageway?
Close it.
Close it.
Close it off. Okay, I did this the other day. Here I have my water bottle. If the outside air pressure right now is 30 inches, how much pressure is in my open bottle?
30.
30. If I put my finger halfway over it, what's the pressure inside the bottle right now?
30.
Why is it 30?
Because it's still open.
It's still open and it's stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
There's no air moving. All right? Now, if I had something drawing the air out and I blocked this off mostly, what would happen to the pressure in here?
Increase.
It decrease.
Decrease.
Yeah. decrease
You have to
fast.
have movement or it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Got that?
Yeah.
Okay, you will fail this oral if you miss that part. I will just say, no, go away. Because it's like my third question. So you have to have movement or it stays stagnant. So looking at this right now, that AMC, if this comes in here and goes into this chamber and has nowhere else to go, would blocking this off partly have any effect whatsoever?
No.
I'm just putting my finger over the water bottle. Will it have an effect?
No.
No, because the air pressure is just there. It's stagnant. So you got to have some sort of flow. Where's the flow come from? Right there, the bleed. So why is the bleed there?
Flow.
The bleed provides flow from chamber A to chamber B so that
Equalize.
the automatic mixture control works.
Yep.
If you say equalize, you're wrong.
Yeah.
If I want A and B equalized, then just get rid of them. Right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted A and I wanted B to be the same, what's the same? Get rid of them. Now they're the same. Just put a spring in there.
Move the
Right?
diaphragm.
Remove the diaphragm. Yeah. Well, what's the bleed different? Well, they didn't know how to remove the diaphragm. So drill a couple holes in the diaphragm. You'll solve your problem. Okay. So the bleed is there to provide flow from A to B so that the automatic mixture control actually does something. Got it? Okay. Just thought I'd mention that. Don't miss that question on the oral. Okay. You got that? A and B. Pressure comes in, suction helps it. So A plus B is air metering force. And I'll write all this down for you tomorrow. Unless you want the test tomorrow. You decide.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So what should we do? Red. Okay, so red. C. Do I do C or do I do D first? Fuel. Fuel comes in. Fuel inlet, past the screen, comes in this chamber right here. Right? It's going to fill this chamber up. That's, as you can see right here, inlet pressure. So if you forget, you just look down there and go, oh, that's inlet pressure. How do I know that? Well, it says it down there. So fuel inlet pressure right there. There is, in fact, a little float right here on the top of E that if any bubbles get in here, it will come up here, and as it rises up to the top, and you get these bubbles, and air fills up, then the float will start to drop, and then all the fuel will just burp out of here. Air will burp out, and then it closes again. So not a big deal. It just goes back to the tank. What happens if the thing sinks? Who cares? They're just going to send more fuel back to the tank. It won't make any difference. All right, so fuel then comes through this poppet valve. So now it's passed through its first orifice. So that makes it
Restriction.
unmetered fuel pressure. It hasn't been metered yet because we haven't gotten to the metering chambers, but it has changed to the unmetered fuel pressure versus the inlet pressure. Okay? So that does control the fuel going in right there. Not in its entirety. We got to do a little bit more with it, but not a whole lot more. Okay. So it passes into D. Now I need to change my color here. let's see, we should go definitely dark blue on this one. So, dark blue, we got fuel. Now we got this fuel here in D, which is unmetered fuel pressure. We'll do that. Unmetered, 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 fuel pressure, unmetered. Okay, we'll talk about the idle mixture valve a little bit later. It comes to the main metering jet. Okay, we'll talk about the stuff on the sides later. It's not important right this minute. So once it goes to the main metering jet, it becomes metered fuel. All right, metered fuel. Metered fuel, metered fuel, metered fuel, metered fuel, metered fuel, metered fuel, metered fuel. And now, I like to think of this thing right here as a pressure relief valve. And I like to think of that pressure relief valve as being at 5 psi. So its job is to keep everything on the right side before the discharge at 5 psi. You with me so far?
Yeah.
So let's just say I try to sneak some by it. I'm like, I'm gonna try and bump this up to 6 psi. So I sneak 6 psi down through all this. Go back to my laser pointer. I sneak 6 psi. Ooh, it's coming through 6 right here. What's the pressure relief valve going to do?
Go. No.
Doesn't want that. So how does it relieve the pressure and get it back to 5?
Goes to your C,
A what?
to the C diaphragm. To the C diaphragm.
No. What's the pressure relief? It's just a little pressure relief ball right down here.
Release, opens up.
Right there. What do you think it's going to do? We've talked about pumps. What? Opens up the orifice. Right here. Open up the orifice. Would that relieve it, make this 5 psi?
Yeah.
It does. Well, but it opened up. So what does that mean to the other side?
What other side? There's
More
more
pressure
flow.
comes off.
Right here.
There's more fuel.
More fuel.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's how we got more fuel. If I try and increase the pressure here,
Oh.
and I open that up, it's going to dump more fuel.
So it keeps the constant pressure.
Keeps
inside the
constant
system.
pressure, but it's opening and closing to allow fuel to go to the engine.
Constant pressure, but different fuel amounts being.
Constant pressure, but different flow. That's really important. That's really important. So that's all red. Let's see. Wait a minute.
When that comes.
Still red, 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 red. So what's in here?
Red.
Meter.
5.
Metered fuel.
Oh,
5 psi. It's constant. So red is 5 psi. That's probably a good place to stop right there. If you can adjust that much.
I think so.
You're like, I think so. And then we can talk about that tomorrow.
And all.